The Lost Art with Andrew Cox podcast. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Now streaming on all major podcast platforms. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're having a fireside chat. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you go to the website. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go check us out, see what we're all about. There is a merchandise tab. You can go in there and help support us and getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. You can get you a t-shirt, maybe a hat, maybe even one of these hoodies, something like that. But you can go in there and get you some cool stuff and help support us to get our veteran voices out for all to hear. Also, a big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project out there doing some amazing things. If you don't know anything about that organization, I encourage you to go to their website, go check it out. That's tillvalhallaproject.com.
Major Lee Stuckey. We've been blessed to bring in thousands and thousands of veterans and first responders and save hundreds from suicide. We don't want to be a handout, and we want to be a hand up with our four pillars, which are physical, financial, emotional, and for me, most importantly, spiritual, and give them a good, healthy foundation in a safe, sober environment for a 4-day event.
Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps Veteran Service Organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right. We are back here. I got some of the crew and our special guest. We'll go ahead and go round robin. All right, we'll go ahead and start with Mike. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Doing good, Andrew. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You're getting ready to go on vacation and leave us for a little while, so
Yeah.
you know,
I'm trying to not get too excited.
you have to enjoy your vacation
fresh
for all
air
of us.
and different scenery. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
Been a long week, but I can't complain.
Very nice. All right, we got the special guest here. This is Howard Schaffer. I met him over at when we were at the Modern Day Marine Expo. But how you doing, Howard?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, it's good to have you on here. I was it was nice to meet you whenever we were over there. Had some good conversations, and I think that we can help in spreading some of the messages that you got for your organizations.
Awesome, that's great.
Awesome. Well, you're here for the it's correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Chapel of Four Chaplains Foundation. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Awesome. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about it, and maybe even just start with how you got involved with it?
Well, I found out about it through a fellow Marine Corps League member who was no longer with us, and it was about 10 years ago. I've been the chairman of the board for the past 4 years. So we're a veterans outreach organization. We were chartered, and the President Truman actually signed us in 1953.
Oh, wow.
So we've been around that long, and we're veterans outreach. We do symposiums for veterans, a lot of veterans events, and we recognize people internationally for selfless service.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we do.
Very nice. Now, you were telling me kind of the story of how or what it's named for. Do you mind going into that a little bit?
No, not at all. On the evening of actually the wee hours of the morning of February 3rd, 1943. The USAT Dorchester, which was a Army transport, um, had over 900 passengers on, and just over 200 survived after a German U-boat torpedoed the ship, and it went down rapidly. Um, Not everyone. There wasn't enough life vests on the ship, or
Hmm.
they were down below and people couldn't get down to get them. And four chaplains, a Dutch reform, a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest, and a Methodist minister were on board the Dorchester, headed to Greenland, and they took off their life vests and gave them to service members so that they would have a chance of surviving. Um, and the accounts are that as the ship was going down, the four of them joined arms and prayed in their religious beliefs to the one God, and they went down with the ship. So
Wow.
that's the abridged version of what happened with the four chaplains on that on February 3rd, 1943.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. I mean, good for them. And, that's exactly what we think of whenever we think of ministers or chaplains or anything like that. That's kind of well, at least what I think of. But yeah, it was awesome.
Well, it takes a special kind of person to know that you're about ready to go down into the frigid waters
Yeah.
in the dark. Um, and as an officer, they had the opportunity of getting on one of the boats
Hmm.
and being saved, but instead they chose to save other service members and go down themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was of different nationalities, or were they all from the U.S.?
They were all from the U.S.
Okay.
In fact, one the Jewish rabbi was from York, Pennsylvania.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Very interesting. Now, with this organization, what types of things and what types of events, what are you doing, on the regular as things are going?
Well, we have a symposium coming up next week
Hmm.
for and a lot of stuff with veteran suicide, a lot of
Right.
stuff with homeless veterans. Um, at Christmas time we do ditty bags and like sock drive and things like that. So
Hmm.
we take these out on the street and pass them out to the homeless veterans.
Very nice. And is it just a local type thing or is it national?
It's actually international now.
International. Okay.
Um, we have a very big uh, presence in the Netherlands is one of the places, and again,
Okay.
it's spreading. Um, so yeah, so next week we'll have a 2 day event, or actually, sorry, a 3 day event, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, in Philadelphia at the Old Navy Shipyard.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really nice. And now at this conference and everything, I'm assuming you'll have some like guest speakers and different things like that.
correct, correct.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a fairly large event then if it's an international convention.
Well, it's a symposium, and it
Oh,
probably will
symposium.
draw a lot of people from the local area,
Hmm.
mostly. But
Yeah.
yeah, we get people from all over the place. Yeah,
Now, I just quick question. Now, are you a chaplain or a minister?
I am the national chaplain for the Marine Corps League.
Hmm.
I can perform weddings, but I'm not an ordained minister.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow, that. Now, how did you fall into that position?
I was requested by one of our former national commandants
Oh, okay.
to carry that role, and I've been doing that now. It's probably at least I didn't even think about it. It's probably 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
At least it's
Okay.
over 8 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And the organization also works hand in hand with the Marine Corps League.
Yes, yeah. One of our biggest supporters are our veterans organizations, the Legion, the VFW, the Jewish War Vets. and the Marine Corps League.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even. What is the Jewish war vets? Is that what?
Yes, yes.
I've never even heard of that one.
There is a VSO out there, the Jewish War Vets.
No kidding.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to get somebody on from there to come in and talk about their veteran service organization. That'd be
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. They are. They're great people, and we host them a lot of times at the chapel.
Yeah, very
They get
nice.
down, and just so I can say this,
Yeah,
we're not a religious organization. It's the Chapel of Four Chaplains because of the four chaplains.
right.
But our organization is it's a VSO. It's not a per se chapel or any of those type. I mean, we are
Right.
our building, our physical presence is at the Navy Yard in the old Navy Chapel.
Oh, okay.
Um, and people do rent that out for weddings, and they do church services there. The Baptist Church meets there on Sundays, but we are a non-religious entity. Um,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
And you do some of the same stuff that most or all veteran service organizations do, like helping with veterans with their transitions, and then also helping them with benefits and things of that nature as well.
Yes, our door is open to all veterans, and
Yeah.
we try to field their needs, whether we get them to, the county VSO or, if it's a Marine, I try to get them over to the Marine Corps League. But yeah, we have a small staff, but we try to field people into the right places and get people the assistance that they need.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, is there anything that I'm missing as far as asking questions about the organization or anything else that you'd like to cover?
No, I really appreciate you having us on tonight. And again, as I said before, this is my first podcast, so a little nervous, and I just ran in the door from work, so it's yeah, a little by the seat of my pants here.
That's
Um,
okay. I did my entire trip this last go round by the seat of my pants. Everything was to include the oh my gosh, there's an event I got to go to tonight, and it's a black tie event, and everybody had to dress me. So
yeah, there
uh,
you go, there you go.
yeah, seat of
Yeah,
my pants, and
yep,
and
yep.
and by the seat of somebody else's pants that night. So
Well, and you know what, you did it well.
it's like it
um,
was meant to be.
but that's what us Marines do. We what is it? Adapt, improvise, and overcome. Will be the
That's right.
words that will always be in my mind for the rest of my life. So,
Well, yeah, usually when we're on here, we just kind of talk about different topics, different things that are going on as well. So, Mike, I know he's getting ready to go on vacation. But Mike, you got anything that you want to bring up or talk about?
No, it's really fascinating to listen to, Howard talk about the organization. It's something you would never even, no, I've never heard of them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just an organization I've never heard of. I
well,
don't claim to have heard of everything, but your typical VFW, American Legion, stuff like that. But I've never heard of.
well,
Uh,
I encourage you to go on to the website and check it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um, and now that you've heard about it, Mike, you probably will run into a lot of things. You'll get to some city squares, even in Europe, and
yeah,
there's a monument to the four chaplains. If you go to Arlington National Cemetery, there's Chapel Hill. Um, and they put up a monument there as well. And we just um, last year uh, put up a memorial marker for because the bodies have never been returned, obviously from the sea. Um,
Yeah.
so we just had the family of one of our uh, Fox, one of the chaplains, who
Mm,
was interred without his body, but
right.
at Arlington. So you'll
Wow.
start seeing it now, Mike. Now that you know about
yeah,
it, you'll start seeing it.
absolutely, yeah.
Now, what's the website, Howard?
It's the Four Chaplains Foundation.
You said the for like
Yeah,
THE?
or just put Four Chaplains Foundation in your search engine, and it should come up.
Well, I was going to type a banner up for everybody
Ah,
here.
okay. Well, I am on
Here,
my phone, so I can't grab it
it's
for you
okay.
quick, but
I can find it.
I
Can you guys
apologize.
still see me?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And that was
Okay,
another thing you had
Chaplains.
touched on, Howard. I didn't, it's not one of those things you typically would ask, but you know, by the name of your organization, you would assume it to be, a extremely religious organization, and that's
Nope.
not a bad thing if it is.
No. No.
But but also, unfortunately, there are a lot of spiritual service members out there that depending on whatever their religion may be. And sometimes that can actually, I don't want to say off-putting, but it can prevent people from trying to come
Right.
to the organization because they're like, oh, I'll never fit in there. I'm not that kind of person, so I
Right.
I
Right.
can't. Yeah,
So, and I totally agree with you. It's fortunate, but it's unfortunate. But we are people of God, and I don't care if you go to a church or you don't go to a church or whatever. This is about selfless service. This is about selflessness. This is about one of our recipients was Mattress Mac. I'm sure you guys have heard of Mattress Mac from
I
Texas.
have. Yeah.
When the hurricanes hit and people were homeless, he invited people into his furniture stores to sleep in the beds in
Yeah.
his furniture stores. Um, that's selfless service. Gary Sinise,
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Dole. I just presented Elizabeth Dole last fall the medallion.
Mm.
And you'll see people around the Marine Corps League wearing them, and people at the Legion wearing them.
Yeah.
Um, that have been awarded the selfless service awards. So,
Yeah. That's really cool. And now, what do you kind of what are your criteria when you're looking at that to award somebody? What are you looking for?
well, we don't necessarily reward people for their military service or any of those
Right.
things. It's selfless service.
Right.
It's people who have gone above and beyond with no want or need of recognition for
Mm-hmm.
the special things that they do.
Right.
Um, So, you look for that person in your community who's giving and doing,
Right.
um, and then you nominate them. On the website is a nomination form, and it goes in front of our committee that approves them or decides which one they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
We have different levels of the award, um, from the Legion of Honor to the Bronze Medallion. Um, then it goes to the gold medallion, which there's been some presidents have received that,
Oh wow.
for the things that they've done. Mr. and Mrs. Bush, George H.W.
Yep.
Bush, he and Barbara Bush. I mean, look at all the things that they have done in their lifetime.
Right.
So they're recipients. Bob Hope was a recipient.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So people like that. Um, Peter Cancourt from Jersey Mike's.
Mm.
Look at all of the philanthropy and things that he does way above and beyond.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
yeah.
so anyway, it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Now, and can anybody nominate somebody for those types of things, or is it somebody that has to be within the organization?
No, no, no. It's people from the outside nominate.
Okay.
Um, you know, it, I guess it's always been somebody who has it to nominate somebody to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a criteria that would stop someone from getting it. If we get a nomination form and that person's worthy of the award, they're
Mm-hmm.
getting they're getting it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice.
Now, is that
Well,
like the awards? Are those like there's like one award a year, or it's like all the
We
recipients are looked at, or is there
all
multiple?
recipients are looked at, Mike. But like the bronze medallion, our bylaws say that there's 6 of those a year here in the
mm,
United States. Gold medallions are very rare. Um, if one of those is given out in a year, so like last year there was none given out,
wow.
because that's somebody who not only serves above and beyond, but it's somebody who does a lot of stuff internationally as well.
Right.
So a bronze medallion is more for people stateside, that do stuff locally or statewide or here in the
Hmm.
United States. But when you get into the gold medallions, it's George Bush Senior.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me. Yeah. And that's a great example, George Bush Senior. Man, he did a lot of great stuff.
and so did Mrs. Bush.
Yeah.
Mrs. Bush
Absolutely.
was
Yeah.
an amazing, amazing first lady, but just as a private citizen, she did a lot of great things.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, I do have the website. It's forchaplains.org. So everybody can go there, and while you're there, you can navigate. If you have somebody you want to nominate, you can find the form there. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
All right.
great. That'd be great. It's on our website. And you know, we welcome everyone and I welcome people to reach out if they have any questions or they'd like to have further discussions. I would love to have those discussions and I've got some amazing staff members who Bill Kamer, who's retired from the Army. He
Okay.
was a chaplain's assistant in the Army.
Oh wow.
He
Okay.
works at Arlington now. Um, so I would put you in touch with the right people and yeah. So
Yeah. Very nice. I like it. Now, man, I had a question that just slipped my mind.
so that just doesn't only happen to me.
No, it happens to me all the time. It's
There you go.
amazing how much that happens to me. Um, well, I guess it must not have been that important if I can't think of it off the top of my head here. But well, at this point, I guess Mike, unless you have something else that you want to ask or anything, uh, we can kind of move on. Now, you were a Marine, and did you like what was? Tell us a little bit about your history in the Marine Corps.
Uh,
Sorry, Howard.
yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I entered Paris Island on December 1st, 1987. I was a 2542 comm center operator,
Okay.
and nothing illustrious in my career. I served. I didn't volunteer anything, as you're told. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
be careful what you volunteer for.
that's right.
um, so I did my job. I served my country well. I don't know about everyone else, but if I had the opportunity of going back now, I would give up everything and go back tomorrow. I miss it. Um, I miss the camaraderie.
Yeah,
It is certainly a fraternity that no college has, and the ties are definitely deep, and hence
yeah,
why I belong to
absolutely.
the Marine Corps League.
Yeah,
Um, General Lori Reynolds introduced me to the Marine Corps League. I had no idea what the Marine Corps League was, and I happened to be at Paris Island one day when she was the commanding general, and I asked her, "What's all those red covers, ma'am?" And she told me about the Marine Corps League, and I ended up calling my local detachment commandant that night about 10 o'clock at night, and here I am.
very nice. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah, it was good
So
stuff.
so far so good for me. I mean everyone that I've met in the Marine Corps League very nice. And it is a great camaraderie. So I'm glad I get to be a part of that. But it's been fun so far.
Yeah, I look forward to my monthly meetings. I look forward to modern day Marine. Um, going to different divisions and for conferences and it's really good stuff. I call it coming home all the time.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Because
Now
whether you
you
served with somebody or not, we all have something in common.
true.
And
Yeah.
it is definitely a bond like no other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm assuming you'll be going to the national what
In
do you call it?
Grapevine, Texas.
Yeah, Grapevine, Texas. Yeah. So and that's in August. Is that correct?
August. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really
Very
looking
nice.
forward to that. It would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, do you have anything else that you would like to discuss or anything, Howard?
No, hopefully on my next podcast I do better.
You're doing just fine. We're just having a conversation. It's all good.
Mike, how many did you have to do before you were comfortable with it?
I'm still not comfortable with it. I've listened back here and there, and I'm like, I sound like an idiot.
Yeah,
I just don't like. Andrew's like, no, you sound fine. I'm like, no, I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I, I,
No,
I,
it's
I
just that's my thing. You talking about the camaraderie and stuff like that. I've been so detached from the Marine Corps for so many years that this was Andrew inviting me to do this. It was early last year,
Mhm.
like January, somewhere in there. Andrew and I've known each other since Camp Pendleton in '03,
Yeah.
'02, '03, yeah. And
Yeah. O2, I think.
yeah, deployed together, and it was he and I have stayed in touch all through the years. But he's like, all of a sudden I saw one day he was posting on Facebook about a podcast or doing things, and I think I sent you a text. I don't even remember. I think it was supposed to be a joke, funny, just me being a smart butt to you, and you're like, well, when are you coming on? I was like, really? I was
there you
like,
go.
okay,
There you go.
so from that point on, it it's one of those things that kind of it recenters me each week, to get on here with, a group of Marines, and just, to hear you like yourself, sir, talk about different organizations that, as veterans, a lot of times we get in this hole where we don't think there's no one out there that cares, or there's nobody out there that can help. And it's definitely eye opening with being on the podcast. Like to hear yourself, sir, and other people get on here and just talk about
Yeah,
their organizations and what they can
Yeah.
provide, and what they can do, and what they're willing to do. And it's even just individual people. They're like, hey, man, I go out of my way. This is, I'm a job planner. I find jobs, and they go out of their way to find jobs for Marines that feel like they're at a dead end because,
Yeah.
unless you leave the service and all of a sudden it's like, okay, let me go to work, let me do this, but there's no sense of family, there's no sense of ownership in what you do, other than, okay, I got to work because I got to make a living, because I got to pay the mortgage, I got to do this and get benefits for my family.
right.
Right.
So it's really fun to be on the podcast and talk to folks like yourself, to hear your stories and hear what different groups are out there trying to do
Yeah.
for our benefit. So it's just up to us as stubborn veterans sometimes to swallow our pride and understand that there's people out there that want to help us and they can do things for us.
There's a large group of people who really do care,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's comforting. Yeah, I think it's great, you guys. These years later, I similarly have a brother of mine who was my guide in boot camp. That's what 37, going on 38 years ago,
Yeah.
um, and we still talk every day.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
we lost touch for a few years because obviously there were no cell phones or whatever, so you would contact through
Yeah.
Mars, Grams, or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and now that there's cell phones, it's either a text or a phone call first thing in the morning. What's going up, man, and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. This is what my day is, and um, but he stayed in the Corps for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yeah, so he and his wife live out in Ohio, and it's kind of cool because we keep in touch. We know what's going on with each other's families. He and I are making a pilgrimage back home to Paris Island here at the end of the month. Um, and yeah, so up until COVID, we would go to Paris Island probably 6 times a year just to go down and hang
Oh,
out. Um, yeah, so our
Yeah.
30th
Just
was
just because you wanted to.
because we wanted to. I'll tell you a really funny story, Mike. I I, um, I had this thing that on our 30th, when he was retiring, on our 30th, I wanted to sleep back on Paris Island. I just thought it would be cool. No pressure. I wouldn't be scared that night. Um, we were gonna go stay on Paris Island, and of course, because of his rank and people he knew, he arranged it. But what he didn't realize is that I arranged um, on Friday morning colors before graduation that our senior drill instructor would come.
No kidding. Wow.
and and so it was kind of funny because I Sergeant Major Buck at Paris Island, he gave me the whole front row because we had like, I don't know, 15 people or whatever, and
Yeah.
there were two empty seats in the front row. And Larry says, "Should we close it in?" And by the way, the day before, I had to go to the Marine Corps Exchange and buy him a uniform. I said, "Larry, tomorrow's the last day you can ever wear this uniform, and you have to wear a uniform." And he said, "Ah, I'm not wearing no uniform." Blah 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 blah. I said, "Larry, come on, we got to have the uniform on." So we went to the Marine Corps Exchange, and there I am with two-way tape, hemming up pants and everything else to get them all squared away for the next day. He looked good. Um, and we're sitting there, and there was two empty seats, and he kept saying, "I think we should close it up. We shouldn't leave those two empty seats." I said, "Well, the other people I had invited couldn't make it." And all of a sudden, standing in front of both of us and our guests were was my senior drill instructor and his wife. And he
Very
locked
cool.
up in front of Larry and said, "I was here for your first day, and I'm going to be here for your last." The whole
Whoa.
crowd, it was like a very emotional moment.
Oh, that's awesome.
We
Wow.
ended up spending the whole weekend together, and I just had lunch with my senior in he and his wife in Palm Beach. I don't know. I think December it was that we met up. He doesn't live far from me in Palm Beach, and so I get to see him at least once a year, and we chit chat back and forth on text messages about the motorcycles and stuff he's buying. But
Very
it's
nice.
kind of cool. But like I said, those bonds that you make in the Marine Corps, and here they
Yeah.
are all these years later. So
Yeah, very
very
true.
cool. I got a lot of those crazy stories though. But yeah, he didn't realize we were staying in the officers' barracks,
Yeah.
and I was sleeping on a sofa. He was in there, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to go for a walk." But what he didn't realize was in the next room was our senior and his wife, who I at that
Oh,
point hadn't seen for 30 years. Well,
yeah.
almost 30 years. And so I sat up with my senior and talked till 5 o'clock in the morning, and then went back into the room and got showered and ready for morning colors. And but Larry had no idea what was going on, so it was very cool. Very cool.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, what a tribute to somebody, that did 30 years. That was great on you to be able to
Yeah.
put that
Well,
together.
brothers do crazy stuff like that now, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You know a thing or two about putting a uniform or putting somebody together before an event. So,
Well, it was just yeah, I do, but it was kind of funny because he's like, "No, I don't want to wear a uniform. I don't want to wear a uniform. We're just gonna go in civvies." I'm like, "Nah, you have to be in uniform. It's your last day." So it was
oh,
cool.
that's funny.
It's very cool.
That's
So
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of veterans that have gotten out and they're on, like Mike was saying, they're out working, they're out doing things, and then they kind of forget about that sense of camaraderie until they get brought into a fold somewhere. And once
yeah,
that happens, it kind of starts coming back out. They start to feel that camaraderie and that excitement about being with their fellow veterans. So, but it happens all the time.
this is not a judgment statement, but there's good and bad everywhere. But
Yeah.
I can't, and especially when I go to national events,
Hmm.
there is absolutely someone at every one of those events that you can connect with. Um,
Absolutely.
and I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to belong or wouldn't want to go.
Yeah.
I guess I would say my first 10 years out of the Corps, it was like I didn't even want to hear the word Marine. Um, and then after that, the older I get, I think the more I gravitate to, like I said, I'd go back tomorrow. If they could give me a desk job, they could give me a whatever because I'm too old to run and do all the things that I used to do back in the day. But um, I would go back tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but I'd go back just for the craziness of it.
Yeah.
Uh, crazy in a good way. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
uh,
Yeah, the sad
yeah.
thing is we'd all go back today and be like, these damn Marines, what the generator in my day.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Back
correct.
in my day, we didn't do
Yeah, yeah, we didn't have timeout cards. And trust me, in the fleet, they don't have them either.
that. Yeah,
And
no.
the kids today, and I say kids, but I have a few that I've mentored and I stay in touch with on a very regular basis. One of my grade school for 13 years of school. His son's in the Marine Corps, and I talk to him on a regular basis. He's still active duty, and they have their own things that they have to deal with now. That you
Hmm.
could say, oh, we didn't have, or things aren't easy today though either on these young people.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's a hard, hard, hard job, and it takes a special human being to be a Marine.
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah,
And they're doing a good job,
yeah,
even
they're
with
doing an
restraints
amazing
that may
job.
be put on them, whatever the case may be. They're still out there doing their thing, and it may not be exactly how we did it, but they're out there doing it and making it move in a new direction. And as we saw, modern day Marine, a very technical direction with all those drones and I mean, all kinds of fancy stuff. It was pretty incredible.
What years did you serve?
I came in '99, and I just retired last year, so I did
Okay,
25.
so you know, I um I think that the people before me didn't have things. Then I got things, and then the people after us even got more things. But
Hmm.
we all heard the adage, and if you didn't, you're going to hear it tonight. But it was, the judge would say either you're going into the service or you're, going to prison.
Right.
And, I know my time, they were extremely strict about who they would take and who they wouldn't.
Hmm.
And today, I think it's even some of these kids. So I'm going to a graduation on my birthday, May 23rd. That's my reason for pilgrimage back to Paris Island.
Hmm.
But when I first got out of the Marine Corps, I was in the very high end luxury car business.
Okay.
And I met this woman and her husband, and it wasn't just a professional relationship. We became great friends. In fact, I did the
Hmm.
eulogy at her funeral a couple years ago. And her great grandson, who is extremely, um, I'm looking for the proper word. Never has to work a day in his life. His granddaddy
Mm.
took very good care of him.
Right.
Um, and this young man who could go out and buy a Ferrari tomorrow with the change in his front pocket and everything else,
Hmm.
grew up in Miami, very privileged, gave it all up, and is graduating from Marine Corps boot camp on the 23rd of May.
That's awesome.
Think about that. Think
Hmm.
about that. This is a kid, his father's in politics. I won't mention the name,
Hmm.
but he decided he was taking a different path, and not an easy path.
Right.
He didn't go to some other branches that might be a little bit easier. He
Hmm.
joined the Marine Corps, and not only did he join the Marine Corps, he enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Very
so
true.
Larry and I are making the pilgrimage down there to congratulate him when he graduates, um, and that's the special young person who's joining the Marine Corps today.
Right.
And it's not
Hmm.
just him, but there's others. Like the young man the young Marine that he's now in his second enlistment, that I was speaking about. That's another kid that college could do anything. He
Hmm.
enlisted in the Marine Corps. It's not the days gone by where you went to the Marine Corps instead of to prison. Um,
Right.
now they're extremely selective, and it even makes me more proud, um, of these people. So anyway, just a
Yeah.
little side note there.
I
Well,
like it.
that's a young person that actually wants to make it on their own merit.
Yep,
Hmm.
That's exactly, they are who they are. It's not because of their last name or,
correct.
and that's awesome. There's not
I
many.
think it's incredibly awesome.
There's not many. Even I went in '92. I don't know when you went in, sir, but it was, you stop and look at less than 1% of 1%. Go to the military, and then you look at what joins the Marine Corps.
Correct.
At that point, but to even think in today's world that there's still young people like that, and that's what keeps the Marine Corps moving.
Hmm. Hmm.
As
Yep.
much as we want to say, like Andrew was talking the other day about everything he saw at the convention about the drones and the technology. We need people like that because the world is moving faster than we can keep up with.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but we still
Absolutely.
need people with that same want and that same drive and that same motivation and that ambition to still want to have to earn something.
Hmm.
Yes.
And that's an awesome thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so anyway,
Wow. Well, I'm glad to know that there are those still out there putting in the effort and wanting to take on that challenge as it should be. So
yeah.
I think we're in good hands as we move forward.
Yeah, I sleep well at night knowing that the Marine Corps is still out there and the other branches of service, but especially my Marine brothers and sisters. I think we've got so much talent. Um, and watching, I'm sure, Andrew, you felt the same way, watching some of those young Marines, even if they just had skeeter wings on their sleeves. Um, Looking at some of them, you just brings back a lot of memories. But
Very true.
I, uh, I looked at them and thought, wow, what makes somebody do that? I mean, I know what
Hmm.
made me do it, but what makes some of these young kids do it? Because
Yeah.
there are so many things out there. Um,
Yeah, that's very true. They could go in any direction, so
Absolutely.
many things out there for them to do.
And the world's a much smaller place now than what it was when we were kids. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it.
Yeah.
There weren't
I
cell
would.
phones when all of us enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Very
There
true.
wasn't computers when we enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Or there were, but they were just in their
Yeah.
infancy. Now, if
Hmm.
you don't have a computer, gosh, we all walk around with one in our pocket every day. Um,
That's true.
Yeah,
yeah,
we all look forward to mail call.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember
If
that?
you didn't get mail and everybody else did, you're like, man, nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. It's
Absolutely.
like it's like what's you mope around and all of a sudden you get 5 or 6 in a row and you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, I have another funny story for you guys.
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
oh my God, I probably should run this by you before. I'm going to put it on camera though, anyway, because it's kind of something that's bad, but it's something that certainly makes me quite proud as well.
Yeah.
But when I was in boot camp, I arrived December 1st. I was away for Christmas, away for New Year's, away for my mother and father's anniversary, my parents or my dad's birthday, and so I don't know. We were like in the end of December, and I just had had enough. You're at that point where should I stay or should I go? And you can't go because the only way off is either to graduate or a body bag, or so they told you, or sitting there and recycle forever. So,
Yeah.
you keep trudging through every day, every day, every day. And I'm sure you guys could relate. And because I don't care how tough you are, those were the guys that cried the most.
Yeah.
Because it was tough. It was really tough. But anyway, I digress. Um, so I hadn't written home to my mother in like 2, 3 weeks. So we were out at the rifle range in Paris Island. Are you both Paris Island Marines?
No,
Okay.
I'm Hollywood, sorry.
No,
Okay.
I
All right.
am. Andrew doesn't know the trials and tribulations.
I don't quite grasp, what those Marines down at PI did,
Wow.
So,
I was in the squad bay and we were doing scuzz brush to bulkhead. It was
yeah.
on a Sunday morning and the barracks are here and the parking lot's up here, the road's up here in the parking lot. They're
Right.
they're down a little bit, slight little incline. And the big windows, the whole walls, the windows, if you remember, and I'm scrubbing away and I looked up and there is my brother-in-law's car with my mother in her faux white fur coat
Oh no.
standing there. I felt every juice in my body go to my feet. I said to the guy to the right and to the left of me, "Oh my God, my mother's here." My heavy in the platoon, he comes and he goes, "Oh Howie, mommy's here," and I just felt like I was gonna die that day. And anyway, my mother showed up at Paris Island because I hadn't written her a letter. And she was worried
Yeah.
about her little Howie, which nobody calls me Howie, by the way. And and my senior to this day still laughs about that. He said, Howard, I went through how many series, and I still remember the day your mother showed up. Thank God we were at the rifle range. Had it happened back on Main side, I may not have lived. But on
Yeah,
out at the rifle range, they didn't
yeah,
mess with you too
yeah.
much.
It was a little more relaxed.
But I got to spend the whole day with my mommy. But when I got back, man, the climbing that I did in that sand pit was just no fun.
You
So that's a
did
little humor.
a lot of climbing to nowhere that day.
Yeah, that's a little humor story for everyone. So
That was a good story.
yeah, a very true story, and I have photos to prove that story.
Oh my gosh.
My brother-in-law was like the paparazzi taking pictures, so I was scared to death. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, at the
So,
moment you were terrified and scared, but
oh, I
when
was
you look back at it now, that is one of those things that
pretty funny.
you
And
would
the,
you would relive it 100 times over if you could, man. It was
Yeah.
no,
just
but it's funny, and the real funny part about this story, and there's photographs of it, is once you get below the Mason-Dixon line, there's no more things called plows on the road, or at least back then there wasn't.
Right.
And it was an ice storm. It was January, mid-January. It
yeah.
was my father and mother's anniversary, my father's birthday that they came. And it was an ice storm. And my poor brother-in-law drove the two of them down in a little Reliant K car, like yeah, with white knuckles from the Mason-Dixon line to Paris Island to see little Howie that didn't write them a letter. So,
Oh my gosh.
yep, yep. True story.
Oh wow.
So,
Wow. That's an incredible story. I like
Yeah.
it.
well, it was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
I
to
hope
all the
that's one
mothers
you
that
share
maybe,
with more people.
what's that?
I said I hope that's a story you share with more people because
I
that's
do share it, and
yeah.
the few guys that I keep in touch with from back in those days, they still all remember it, and they still laugh, and they still think it was fun. We all didn't think it was funny at the time, but my mother was quite proud of herself in her faux white fur coat. She was all dressed up and ready to go. Yep.
Mom didn't know what she did to you, but
Well, no, or she did, and that was her payback.
yeah,
Yeah, oh
But
yeah,
yeah, it was.
that's
yeah.
true.
That's the same mother though that invited the whole town to come to my graduation. So I had buddies, and I still feel bad about this today. I spoke of one earlier, who I'm very close with, but he went home on a bus. No deference to his family, but he graduated and got on a bus and headed back to Ohio.
Yeah.
Um, I had the whole bloody town at Paris Island sitting in the bleachers watching me graduate.
Wow.
Um, yeah, because my mother decided that the town should be invited. So
Yeah.
um, it's pretty funny. So, um, but
It's pretty
anyway, guys,
incredible.
yeah, but it's it's a life achievement that sticks with you forever, and it's the greatest. I've had a very successful business life. Um, I've got a lot of good friends, a lot of acquaintances. I live a good life.
Hmm.
But I have to say that the best thing that I ever did in the life was join the Marine Corps, and I tell young people that all the time.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone. Everyone shouldn't do it. But for
True.
me, it was the highlight of my life.
Hmm.
It truly the highlight of my life. I don't know what you
For
guys think, but
for some of us, that's what we needed.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
I
say
mean,
all the
that's
time, the
yeah.
nuns passed me out of 12th grade so they didn't have to see me anymore. Not because I was smart, not because I had good grades, but because they just wanted to get rid of
Yeah.
me. Um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Well, Howard, thanks for coming on and sharing, and especially sharing these stories. They were fantastic. But Chapel of Four Chaplains Foundation doing some great stuff. You can check them out at fourchaplains.org. So make sure you go do that. And as we wrap up here, we like to do words of wisdom at the end. And I'll let Mike go first. He's going to throw out his words of wisdom, and then you can have the floor, do some words of wisdom, or just whatever it is you'd like to talk about. But Mike, go ahead. You can go first.
All right. Well, I try not to disappoint, but it's one I saw and I've been looking on my phone trying to find it and I can't. I copied it down, but now I can't find it. I'll try to not botch it too bad. But it it was more as far as a quote was there's a guy sitting in a bar may not necessarily be a quote, it may be a short story, but he was sitting in a bar, and the bartender's back there just shining a glass. And he goes, "Why every time I'm in here, are you shining a glass?" And he goes, "Well, people get nervous when a bartender's standing around staring at them with nothing to do." And he goes, "You look like you need help." And he goes, "Yeah, I need some advice." And the bartender's like, he said, "If you lay some bartender advice on me," he goes, "Okay." And the bartender looks at him and he goes, "You look like a person that's lost. You look like a person that wish you could snap your finger and be someplace else." And he goes, "You're absolutely right." He goes, "But if you snapped your finger and you could be someplace else, do you think you'd be happier?" And the guy
Mm,
goes, "I'm not sure." He said, "I don't know." And he said, "The biggest problem we have in life as humans is we don't stop and look at where we're at right now and look at the positives and make the best of what we can with what we've got and quit worrying about everything that you can't control."
that's good. Yeah, that's
That
really
is good.
good.
That is good.
Nice. Mike is just bringing it tonight, man.
Yeah, I'm usually not the zinger, so I had to try tonight. I probably bossed it. It wasn't as good as I read it, but I got the point across, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good. All right. Well, Howard, it's on you. You want to do words of wisdom or just anything else that you want to cover? And yeah, go for it.
No, I really, really appreciate. I didn't have time to prepare, so next time I would know that I have to have something to for words of wisdom.
I
Uh,
always shotgun the guest on this, just so you know, so it's okay.
there you go. But anyway, I really appreciate the opportunity of coming on. Um, Again, next time be more prepared and it's I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable than I was, a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago. So
Yeah,
thanks very
good, good.
much, and it's great to spend time with you brothers, and look forward to seeing you around the Marine Corps League.
We're,
Absolutely.
that's
All
the one
right.
thing I had to learn was this is a judgment-free zone, so
Yeah,
there's no judgment. We're all in it together.
that's
So
right.
It's a beautiful thing, Mike. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. All right, fellas. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Chapel of Four Chaplains. Go check them out. That's fourchaplains.org. For all you veterans out there, if you're struggling, you need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA does have some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on the chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. I know Mike, I know Howard, they care about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies that you served with. Ask them how they're doing, and if they need that helping hand, please give it to them. All right, one last time, Mike, Howard, thank you very much. To all the listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.